Is the £22,000 benefit cap just too low? Charities are calling on the government to scrap the cap, saying it plunges thousands of households and hundreds of thousands of children into poverty. It was introduced by the coalition government back in 2013. It was intended to force claimants into work. There are different limits depending on whether you live in or outside London or whether you're a family or not. But for a family living outside London, the figure is £22,000. That works out at just under £2,000 a month, about £400 a week. And most people claiming benefits will be affected by this because it does affect universal credit, housing benefit, Jobseekers Allowance, and a whole host of other benefits. So the question is £22,000 too low? Should people be able to claim what they need? Or would that simply discourage people from finding work at all? Let's ask you that, Kevin. I mean, £22,000, it boils down to a very small amount per day if you're trying to keep a family afloat on it.
Yeah, I think it's cruel. It's absolutely cruel. It hasn't worked, hasn't got people into work, and there are 302,000 kids in extreme poverty as a result. You might not like the parents, you might be pointing the finger at the parents, but do we want 302,000 kids in extreme poverty? Their lives blighted, their futures actually thrown away in many circumstances? No, look, it's cruel. You've got to take into account a basic standard of living. I start from the premise, if you can work, you should work. The whole system is engineered. You will always get more money if you're in work than if you're on benefits. Sometimes, though, you can't get to work because many of these people, I think, are single parents. There are a disproportionate number of women who fled domestic abuse affected. Do we really want to persecute these people? No, we don't. No, it's got to go.
Belinda,
it was produced by the Tories and it's mean and
obviously,
nasty.
the idea of it was to make sure that you didn't get more money on benefit than working, and that would make sense, I think, to almost everybody. You don't want to be rewarded financially for staying at home, obviously not. But is this now punitive and cruel?
No, I think we need to be very careful because it's very easy to give away other people's money to make you feel good on the inside. This isn't the government money. This is hardworking families taking less home to their children, going on less holidays with their families to then provide for other people to have children and to give to other families. There needs to be a huge amount of respect brought back to those paying tax and funding this. And I think we should get back to the original purpose of welfare, which was originally set up to help the sick, to look after the disabled, and to act as a temporary safety net for those who lost their jobs. This is not what it has morphed into now. Unfortunately, we have an ever-ballooning welfare state which is absorbing more and more people from the workforce into it. There are almost 20% of Manchester's working-age men and women are on out-of-work benefits. I absolutely agree with you. Those most vulnerable, like women trying to escape domestic violence, like people who've been completely down on their luck with cancer diagnosis, special needs children. Of course, I'd look into that and make them special exceptions. And I would rather help them more than continue to give money out to those people who are given job options and refuse them. And one of Reform UK's policies, actually, I think will help in terms of if you get offered a job 3 times and you say no 3 times to that job, you actually get your benefits reduced. There's dignity in work. We need to make sure work pays.
You get sanctioned now. You get it reduced now.
We need to make sure that we look after the most vulnerable and get others who can work back into work. The threshold of 20,000.
There is the real system experienced by people every day, and then there's a fantasy system where everybody's just not working, living a life.
I never said that.
You get sanctioned now. You have to show you're looking for work. But this, along with the bedroom tax and the 2-child benefit cap, were all introduced by George Osborne when he was Chancellor and David Cameron, not really to save money. It was all to divide and rule, to set the working against the non-working. It was a classic political ploy.
So
I remember
the
horrific rhetoric. And no, I wouldn't have a cap. Because some places there are very high housing costs, and if you've got high housing costs, like in London, it's a fact of life. Do you want 302,000 kids in extreme poverty?
I don't want them, but I do not think the answer
your
is
cap,
an open
your
right.
We're going to
cap is
pause
putting
it
them in.
there. Thank
Stop
you very
punishing
much.
hard-working
Your cap.
families.
It's not
It
punishing
is.
hard-working
We've got to be much more
families.
careful with people's
it's
tax
not
money.
damaging them.
It
You're just
is.
setting one
Paying for
group
other
off
people's
against
kids.
another.
Parents have
It's
to be
a
more
nonsense.
responsible for the number of children
most
they
kids
have.
in poverty in Britain are in households where somebody works. The problem is low pay. It's not an overgenerous
And 0
benefit
hours
system.
contracts.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and
that's
terrible problems in terms of
but you
budgeting
address
and
it, but you're not.
No.
You're sticking with a nasty cap.
It's not nasty.
And
I've
you're setting
agreed with you.
people
The
off
most
against each
vulnerable should
other.
actually get more.
Low pay is the problem in Britain.
I mean, it's a very difficult situation, isn't it? And just to balance the books on that amount of money, incredibly
horrible.
tough.
Yeah.
Yes, all right. Well, thank you very much indeed for that. Obviously, daggers drawn. We expected that. No consensus whatsoever.
Zero.
Smiles plastered on your faces, though. Now your calls on whether the £22,000 cap on benefits is too low. Charities say it's putting thousands of families into poverty, but would scrapping the limit just stop people wanting to find work? Let's hear what you think about this one. And let's go to Amy, who's on the line in London. Hi, Amy.
Hi. Good morning.
Morning.
Lovely to speak with you, Vanessa.
Oh,
Looking beautiful as always.
Oh, my gosh. Now, that is nice. I should suggest you go to some well-known brand that makes glasses and get yourself a pair of glasses. But I'm going to take the compliment. Thank you very much indeed. Tell me what you think about this £22,000.
Yes, I believe personally, if you live within your means, it's more than enough. And whenever your lovely panelist Melinda's on the show, I always agree with her. Today, even more so. You know what? I was out of work for a while in between, trying to find childcare, and you used the word safety net. That's what it's supposed to be. I was getting kind of around that amount, and it was more than enough. Yeah, we couldn't have Sky TV. I couldn't go and buy expensive things. It was just to cover me until, now I'm back to work. And that money was more than enough for us to manage. I think people are not living within their means, and then they wonder why they're struggling. It's not supposed to be comfortable on benefits, and that is what the problem is. It's too comfortable on benefits.
Kevin, is it comfortable on £22,000 a year?
No, look, they're living on about £4 a day after you deduct rent and pay your electricity bills. That can't be good, can it, Amy? And why? What about the kids? Why?
I've got
the kids?
3 children. I did it.
Yeah. Well, I know. Well, good luck to you and congratulations, you did it. But where's your sympathy for the other people who are struggling?
But
who may be single parents, or they may have a mental health problem, or as disproportionately represented in this group are people who are victims of domestic violence and are trying to keep their family together.
Can I ask Amy something? Amy, it's really nice to hear from you. When you were existing and surviving on that money, tell me about how difficult it was and, what you had to cut back on and how easy or difficult it was to feed the children, etc.
It was difficult. I'm not saying it was easy, but it certainly wasn't struggling. I mean, the struggling was, yes, to pay the fuel bills and all that, just like everyone else. But the things that we went without, I explained to my children, we're going to be watching a lot of catch-up TV. I'm not going to be having Sky just till I get back to work. We weren't able to eat out as much as we used to. These things all add up to, the money that we had was used on our shopping, on our bills, and I still managed to take them out on days out. We still, had some of that. So it didn't feel like a real struggle like Kevin is saying. I'm sorry, if you live within your means, and I'm not talking about those people that you mentioned, the victims and all that. I'm talking about the people who are lazy.
Amy,
just
I'd like to know
benefits.
what happened, Amy, to get yourself out of that very difficult situation? How did you change life for yourself?
Well, I've worked all my life since I was 15, and I couldn't not be in work. But because one of my children is severely disabled, I had to take time out to try and find care for him. But the thought of not working is just not an option. But then that was, the benefits helped. That kind of, as I say, I did kind of get around that amount that is being discussed. And we managed absolutely fine. And it was a safety net, which is what it should be.
Amy, when in your life...
Don't you think she's an incredible role model? And it's exactly people like you who set the standard: personal responsibility, accountability, living within your means. And I'm not including those who have their lives decisions taken away from them. But I'm so glad you called. And I think you're wonderful. Good luck to you.
Amy, when was it in your...
Thank you.
When was it in, which years was it?
It was only last year that I've gone back to work. I was out of work for nearly 3 years, which felt like a lifetime because I've never been out of work for that long.
Amy, listen, wishing you lots of luck, and to the family as well. And thank you so much for ringing. Let's talk to Catherine in Devon about this. Catherine, £22,000 for families outside London. Is that too low simply to survive?
Yes, it is. Yeah, I definitely agree with Kevin on this one.
Right.
And obviously don't agree with Melinda.
Have you been through it yourself? Have you had to subsist on that money?
Yes. So around about that. I mean, obviously I've had a lot of luck, and my social network is really strong.
Good.
So I was born in Devon, and I've lived in Yorkshire. I lived in Yorkshire for 5 years. I have family in London. And I've been working since I was 13. I'm 44 next month. And
so hitting the hard times, was there a particular crisis in your life that happened?
Yeah, so my father passed away when I was 13.
Sorry.
And that meant that my mum was a single parent to 3 young children.
Right. And
yeah, so I say luckily, with a little bit of irony there, she was able to get widow's benefit, and I was able to get EMA in 1997 when Labour came in under Tony Blair and Gordon Brown. That enabled me to go to sixth form. I then gained 3 A-levels. I went on to Plymouth University. I did 2 years of a degree. I had my daughter, who's going to be 21 next month. And then I went back to university again to complete my degree.
So what would your message be? I mean, you've had it very tough in life.
And then I gained my master's in social work.
Well, you've done amazingly, and well done. It's an incredible achievement. And you certainly had a very, very difficult and sad childhood in many ways. But what would your message be then about, £22,000 as the cap on benefits? What would you like the Prime Minister to know?
Yeah, the narrative around people that claim benefits is very wrong. The majority of people that claim benefits are either in work, in education, have mental health needs, have physical health needs, have diseases like addiction, and a variety of complex issues that if you drill down.
Yeah. Catherine, thank you for that. I mean, Belinda, Catherine isn't just talking about it. This is her life. She loses her father at the age of 13.
Yeah. I understand that, an incredible story. What an amazing woman. But I would say no one's talking about stopping benefits. £22,000 a year is still incredibly generous from other British hardworking families to give to those families. That must always be remembered. But I would say this, the lady talked about mental health issues. When David Cameron came into power, 3,000 people a month were being assessed as not fit to work through sickness. That is now times 10. It is now 30,000 people a month are getting essentially signed off work.
Do you think that's
I'm just thinking Labour had a better record than the Conservatives
to the point that Rishi
applying that test.
Warned GPs this year that they were too easily signing people off work. These are the things we need to be really ambitious, getting much stricter on the eligibility of benefits and give to the poor.
Let's talk to Julia. Julia's on the line in Dorset. Julia, hello. Thanks for ringing. What's your perspective on this?
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
My perspective is that if you work it out from the minimum wage to what I earn on front desk in a surgery, for the £22,000 per year, it's an average of what I get now of a minimum wage.
Right.
We've not been given anything at the moment to enhance us. I want to touch on £22,000 is an average amount of money at the moment if you calculate it that way for most families. I've got a daughter who lives in her home on her own at the moment. She was in a pretty bad car crash due to someone else years ago. I was told she would never work. We pushed her to work. She does work, but the maximum is 16 hours because otherwise she sleeps a lot. She does get a little bit of help from, the benefits, and that's the reason. I feel that, as what Melinda was saying, that if there are proper structures put in place for those that need to go and work as well as get universal credit to help them back to work, I think it should be. I also agree that the 3 times if you disagree to take a job, I've cleaned toilets from the day I left school. I've done, you name it, I've done it to keep our household going with the 2 children that I had, as well as my husband. We struggled back then with no help, and we pushed to work, both of us. My children work. I just feel there is that needs to enhance you for mental health as well as disability people. I think that they should be able to be enhanced to go back, and it is a baseline to start at 22,000, because it's more than a normal working person gets.
I mean, it's not supposed to be, Kevin, is it? Thank you, Julia. It's not supposed to be more. That's the whole point.
If you've got a family and you're on the minimum wage, you'll get universal credit. You might get housing benefit. You might get child benefit too, and possibly other payments if you have a disabled child. So people in work are supported too, because low pay is the problem. But this specific cap is putting 302,000 kids into extreme poverty.
Let's talk to
and
Anne.
That is why
let's
it's
talk
wrong.
to Anne in Glasgow about this. Hello, Anne.
Hi there.
Hi there. What do you think? £22,000? I mean, do you know, it really depends on who you talk to, but some people think it's woefully inadequate.
No, I think it's more than adequate. More than adequate. I'm 61 and I've just had to take kinship of my grandson. And I've worked all my days since the age of 14. And they are throwing money at me. There's money coming in that covers my rent, that covers my electric, that's covering his needs, certainly. It's a ridiculous amount of money. Now, I don't disagree, because I've worked all my life and I've earned it and I've paid into the system.
Yeah.
But, oh my goodness, the amount of money.
How much money is it? Do you know how much money are you getting?
Why did I ever not work? I should never have worked.
But have you sat down and added it all up? How much money you're actually getting? How much is pouring in? Do you know?
Well, I'm getting nearly £700 kinship money.
Right.
I'm getting my rent paid plus £300 odds every fortnight. More than covers your shopping, more than covers everything. And I'm not saying no to it. I'm loving it. And I hate not working. Yeah. I had no choice. But I have worked since I'm 14. And the money is flooding through the door.
Do you think it's too much, though? I mean, obviously, you're not going to say no to it. Do you think you should be being paid less money than that?
Well, I think it's always going to have to be on circumstances. Yeah, there's domestic violence, yes, and I agree with that. I agree with the disability and all the rest of it. But, oh my goodness.
I mean, I must say, what Anne's saying, we never hear this. Nobody ever says, I get too much money. It's an excellent call because it's so unusual.
Well, yeah, Anne, is kinship like fostering or adoption?
You only get it as a grandparent. You don't get it as a parent. And that doesn't come out the benefit. Well, it does. Yeah. But it's through the social work department that pay that. Which I suppose is through the government.
So you're getting the money instead of putting the child in care.
Exactly.
And it'll be better for the child, but it's also cheaper for us as taxpayers. That's why you're getting the cash.
Yes. Well, thank you, Anne, very much indeed. Obviously doing a noble job. Absolutely amazing and fascinating call. That's why it's really good fun presenting this programme, because you never know what anyone's going to say. And thank you so much. We're going to leave that there. We've got